Hey gang, Kevin here, Life22, and just touching base with you for another episode. Man, we've been cranking them out. Um, we got tons of content coming out here. So I just finished, and as I mentioned yesterday, I finished yesterday the If Chins Could Kill, the first Bruce Campbell autobiography, and then I just finished today. I started the third one, and obviously, like last week, we finished Hail to the Chin, which was the second one. So the cool side of my pillow is the review for today, and well, first I know that each one of these videos has like a theme, and a lot of times I kind of pepper in information that is like pertinent of this day moving forward, and it's not really referenced. But um, today Norm Macdonald died, so we've got to pay tribute to him. I mean, he was a comedic god, so so yeah, from Saturday Night Live when it was good to 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 Dirty Work. He was referenced quite a bit in Artie Lang's some of his autobiographies that I've read. So yeah. So anyways, yep, going into the cool side of my pillow. It's the third one in the Bruce Campbell. It released, I believe, March of this year. So really, chapters like 1 through 7, like 1 through 6, were kind of Bruce just talking about, referencing stuff from the other two novels, and then like, holy smokes, COVID! What are we gonna do after this? Are they gonna make us wear masks all the time? Like, it was very. I think it came out in March of this year, so it's very like March of this year esque. But it actually like was like middle of last summer when he probably wrote the beginning of the book. So he was, they really hadn't come out with like the vaccines yet, or I'm just judging from, it's the beginning of the book. Who knows how long it took him to write a book? It was only 2.5 hours of a listen, so just kind of brief. He was probably sitting at home bored as shit trying to figure out what he can do, and he's locked in his house for COVID, lockdowns and stuff. But yeah, somewhere between chapter 7 and 9, I really didn't start taking notes till the end, but between chapter 7 and 9, he got a little political. Like, I don't know, it was like, it seemed like one-sided political. I didn't like this portion of the book. Because I think the real issue with it was that it made me realize that my hero, the Saint Bruce Campbell, has a few differing political opinions than I do, and that's maybe what, like when parents have different political views than their children, and like as the children are older and adults are on their own, like the parents, it irks at them because it's like, we're on the same team because we're a family, but you're not on my team because everything's polarized. Now, maybe there's some psychological crap that's where that's coming from. That I don't know. It irked me a little bit. But I agree with him that like politics is like, he was talking about Princess Di and how everybody, and it's like, then he was like, well, nowadays, like, he's like, I loved Princess Di, and nowadays I can't. He goes, you can't go outside without getting in a fight with your neighbor and over a group of people that lie to you, blah, 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 blah. And then he started, like, bashing Trump a little bit. And I was like, okay, well, I get it. You lived in California for so long. Now you're in Oregon, like, Oregon. Anyways, they, so, like, I get the, I get the idea that, like, he's not a Trump supporter. Whatever, I guess, I should have not had that bubble to be burst. Should have just known that Bruce Campbell would have just not been a Trump supporter. Like, I don't know, it hurt when The Rock posted something about how Joe Biden was awesome, and I was like, but it is what it is. I try not to put my stuff in that kind of hat anyway, so, but Bruce Campbell would just hit a little closer to home with, you know what I mean? So some of that stuff, some of the stuff I do get along with, though, like how they're all liars, and like, yeah, I get that. But then you're moving into chapter 10, and Like, what are you on is the title of the chapter. And it literally is like everybody's on something. In the modern Go America, like, if you don't drink, you're at least slugging down coffee, right? Like, there's no, like, he references it, like, he referenced the drugs he's done in his day, you know, like how cocaine has no soul. Like when you're up for the fourth day straight, like chattering your teeth and like trying to find stuff to do and won't shut the hell up. Like, and you're like, I need to shut up, self. You know, and you're like, that's when you know a drug has no soul. And I like that thought process there. And he's like, I'm not a saint. I'm not telling you that I'm not nothing, that I didn't do nothing. I've spent the last 40, 50 years of my life, blah blah blah, fighting, hooking up with and getting back together, breaking up with and getting back together with alcohol. And I was like, I can see that. And he's like, it's like that ex-girlfriend, like, she's bad for you. She steals all your money. When you every so often you build up enough sense to kick her to the curb, and then for some stupid reason you long for her back by your side, and it's such an unhealthy relationship that all the people around you know that you guys are not right together. Like, if you're a drinker, like, that is a beautiful way to sum up like most people's relationship with alcohol. Like, that it is like, it's that ex-girlfriend, that ex-boyfriend, whatever, whatever you've had experience with, where you shouldn't be with this person because they're an asshole and they steal your stuff. And it was just a really good I like that. Jumping ahead 2 chapters, We Are Not Alone. He talks about how like something else is out there, and then he describes his UFO encounter in Oregon, near his house. He said he saw this thing and it was flying a straight line, and then all of a sudden the light bulb on one side of his house like started flickering, and then the next one flickered. And being an electrician by trade, like, is one of my strong suits in my business, right? So he's trying to describe. He's like, we've all experienced brownouts. If it was like a power failure, it's weird that it happened to the 2 lights and they're on separate breakers. Like, he checked, okay, like they're on separate circuits, okay. And then he said, well, if it was a brownout, they'd all fade together. They wouldn't one fade and then the next one fade. Yeah, no, it was one of those things. So he, and being the problem solver that I am, the guy that usually someone's like, I got a problem and I'm trying to like hunt down what it could be. And you'd be surprised how many things that are almost unrelated are actually related to the cause of your problem. And so he sees this thing. It's flying through the air. Like, who knows what it is? Is it an alien? It could be. Whatever. Like, I think there's too many random strings of events that bring us into existence and created an environment in which we could evolve to be what we are. Could this happen on multiple other planets? Not in our solar system. Almost none of them are habitable. You know what I mean? Or barely habitable. So it would be very difficult for... but that doesn't mean that, like, we found bacteria on Mars or something, right? Like, could it happen in other solar systems and galaxies? Yeah. But what's the likelihood? Statistically speaking, I don't know. I think it's cool to think about. I think it's cool to watch movies on that stuff, but if it did happen on another planet, I'm more inclined to see how, to hear how, like, those people, like, let it play out from, like, Ancient Aliens, where they're like, they came here, prepared this planet, and then like experimented with DNA and growth, and you know what I mean, and created like an environment to do like scientific studies, and then we were a byproduct, and they were like, all right, you've seen our government, we just walk out on shit. We just left, $82 billion worth of Apache helicopters and stuff to the Taliban to take. So I mean, like, yeah, I could see somebody just being like, I'm not making the trip to go exterminate that little thing we made over there. Like, it's like 40 years their time. So I thought it was kind of cool. Well, anyways, no. So going back to his thing, if they're on different circuits, Bruce, those two could fade together if there was like an imbalance or a frequency change. Maybe whatever he saw, whether it was a drone or a government test. Like, we've got drones and high-speed things, and things that we don't tell people that exist. It could have been a natural phenomenon. You know what I mean? Like, it was hard to understand, I guess, what he was trying to describe without seeing this flying object. But could it be related to it? He said that he thought that they were like playing with the electricity. Like, can they have a perception where they can see the electricity and manipulate it? Possibly. I mean, that's a bit of a stretch. Now, could whatever he saw flying give off a frequency that would maybe cause the frequency to change of the power coming into his house in the middle of nowhere, right? Like the frequency can change and the harmonics are different, and you could get, and this is where it gets really technical and it's probably over most of your head, but you change the harmonics, like it could create a power imbalance on how that electricity is being received into the house, wherever the source of the interference would be coming from, which would cause like a brownout or a little haze or something. If they were attached to that, and it depends. Like, he saw one light do it than the other, so each one of those circuits could have been on a different line. So when you have your power coming in, you've got two 110s coming in and a neutral, right? The neutral is bringing it back. Your two 110s are in the panel box. So every breaker you have down on each side actually alternates and touches a different leg. So when you put two next to each other, they're actually touching. You get a double breaker, you're getting two, they're touching each rail. Or like one touches each rail, giving you your 220 or 240 or whatever, however you want to consider it. So if one light bulb was here on this breaker and one was here, well, this one's touching this line, this one's touching this line. Like, it's plausible that whatever interference happened affected the first leg and then resumed, and that same phenomenon happened to the second leg. So it really could have been at a transformer or something like that, or wherever, and just my theory. I'm assuming he doesn't know that he was from reading his 3 books. I mean, he's hired a lot of contractors to do a lot of things, and there were some things that he's picked up along the way, but I just don't see electrical. He knows enough about circuits. I mean, but maybe he doesn't know that aspect of it. I mean, or maybe he just didn't think of it, right? Like, maybe he knows, but he might not know about the harmonics. I'm still a little fuzzy on harmonics. I know that's the difference between like power you generate from solar panels, and then they go to a solar panel, and they get. It's real weird. They go into an inverter, and then you can backfeed your panel with it, but you have to have the power disconnected. So most people just store them in batteries, but you have to have the power disconnected. That power, yeah, it's a generator. So you're generating power, and the harmonics creating that frequency of electricity is different. And so if you send it back up the pole, if your pole is connected to your generator and you're trying to backfeed, the power from your house will go back into the generator, burn up the alternator or whatever the generator aspect of it, right? The part that's actually creating current off of the combustion, because the harmonics are different. So that's. I don't know, getting into it a little bit, I suppose. Anyways, so that was I was just kind of debunking his theory there. I don't hate the guy for that. I just don't think he saw what he saw. Not actually, really, probably nothing that I should have gone on a long rant for, and attack my idol over. Chapter 13, Lights on the Mountain. So this chapter was very similar and almost redundant from like his second book, where he talks about the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, that he fought. Which when he wrote that first book, he called it the Bureau of Land Management in this book. In the second book, he talked about the Bureau of Land Management, but he called it BLM throughout the entire book. So, in this one, he never called it. He mentioned the Bureau of Land Management, also referred to as the BLM, blah blah blah, and he mentioned it once. I just find that humorous that you could tell it's post-COVID that he published this book, because, BLM was while he was writing this book, BLM was something not referring to the Bureau of Land Management. So, and it was not apparent in the book released in 2016, but it was apparent here that he had to make such correction. And then chapter 14 was kind of cool. He goes, "This is everything I've wanted to say about politics," and then literally it was crickets chirping for about 25 seconds. I thought that was hilarious. That's the end of my notes. He got into some really cool stuff, talking about some more celebrity stories that he had, like famous people that he had met, hosting like the Saturn Awards and other things like that he was super excited about. But he picked up on a few different stories that he didn't include in the original, the other two autobiographies. So this one was kind of like, just more stuff. And you're gonna forget. Holy crap, I forgot that time that I split my chin open on a coffee table. Actually happened to me 2 years in a row. Split my chin open. Same coffee table. But, like in my autobiography, I might miss that story. And then so when I write, the eighth one, I'll remember it. I'll be like, I never told those jerks about this one. Because when you write a book, now all of a sudden you remember that you'll remember if you wrote a story in or not. But yeah, no, he added a lot of those stories. So my order of favorites on what he wrote, I do like the second one. It was just a little more fast paced. It included more stuff that I was into anyways. I fell in love with Bruce over Burn Notice. I wasn't such a huge Evil Dead fan, so I had seen it once. I'm not a horror film guy anyway, so but yeah, I liked the second book, followed by this one, and then the first book. Just that's my rating score on all three of these. We're moving on to Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life. We didn't do Maps of Meaning, but I broke down some of his ideas from Maps of Meaning, which was over 30 hours long. This one's only 16, so it's going to be a while, but I've got a bunch of council meeting reviews to get caught up on. There was one that was released tonight. I didn't even see it yet. I didn't watch it live. It was a public comment, too. I'm sure there's a bunch of people griping about Kevin doing his podcast. We'll see. Yeah, so we got this in the bag. Taking a hiatus from drinking tonight. I just got in that Chewy Baka cup. Drinking some non-caffeinated tea, licorice tea, and some water. So I just need to, after this podcast, I gotta put the chickens to bed and hop in the shower and try to take a nap myself. I'm just banging out, burning the candle at both ends, folks. Trying to get you guys. I put out 2 podcasts a day for the last. I think this is my 3rd day run of putting out podcasts. This is 5 podcasts in 3 days. Just pretty good for me. I feel like there was something else I was gonna just jump onto real quick, but I think that's it. Yeah, we got 1, 2. I got 2 diversity inclusion committees. I have 1 Common Council committee night, and then whatever video comes out released tomorrow for the Common Council from tonight. So I'll re-listen to the last 3 and I'll listen to the new one, and I'll make notes on all of them, and we'll go from there. We've got enough of those to do that we can bang out a book. And once we're caught up on those, folks, I've got like 4 books that they're like anywhere from like an hour. I have an hour and a half left of a dog training book that I was reading that I stopped so I could kind of read it and listen to it while I was able to spend more time with the dog. And then I've got like, you know, a 2-hour book, a 2.5-hour book, a 3.5-hour book. We can just bang out a bunch of books like one week, just slam them all down, and get you guys some podcasts like one each day or once each every other day. And so we got plenty of content coming. So, and with that said, don't forget to like, subscribe, send comments, nasty ones, hate mail. We love it. We want it. Keep it coming. And we will see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow with a council review, at least one of them. So, no, diversity and inclusion committee review. So, yeah. All right, gang. Check ya. Flip side.